I think we can all agree that this movie's plot and terrorist attack wouldn't have happened if cell phones were around in the early 90s. Can we all agree on that? Toy Soldiers, released in 1991 and is directed by Daniel Patrice Jr., who made his directorial debut with this film, and has also directed such films like In the Army Now, Dawn Patrol, and Rosamund. And this film has a cast of Sean Astin, Will Wheaton, Keith Coogan, Andrew Devoff, Denholm Elliott, and Lou Gossett Jr. And the reason why we're talking about Toy Soldiers today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from one of my supporters and subscribers on this channel, James Filbury. Thank you very much for the donation amount and recommending this movie. I feel like I've heard of this title before. I've definitely never seen this movie before, but I always thought that this title went with like an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, but I was completely wrong when I looked it up. There is no Schwarzenegger-like character in this one. This is all just a bunch of kids at a boarding school taking on some terrorists. Or to put that into context for all of you out there who are watching this review who don't live in the United States, that's basically a typical Tuesday for students here in America. The Regis High School is a prep school for teenage boys of wealthy family members and teenage rejects. And the biggest reject of them all is Billy Tepper, played by Sean Astin. He's always finding ways to break the rules and tries to get expelled from every boarding school he gets assigned to. But Dean Edward Parker is not going to expel him because he sees something in Little Billy. However, this day everything comes to a halt because international terrorists have decided to locate this school and hold everyone in attendance hostage. And while the FBI and the Army are figuring out how they can save everyone without losing a life, Little Billy Tepper is the only one who can save the day. That's right, being a reject and a screw-up does save the day in high school. There you go. Everything about this movie screams late 80s and early 90s for me. It's all of the feathery mullets on all of these kids, and all of them are wearing like bro tanks, skinny tight jeans, and all the technology is huge. Telephones are the size of a sledgehammer. And hell, they even have payphones in the main lobby for people to call home. And it also continues the change from the 80s to the 90s when it comes to action films, because we were shifting, kind of starting with Die Hard, we were shifting into the idea of, hey, our main action stars don't need to be these big muscled up guys like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. The action hero could be just a regular looking person, and in this case a regular looking teenager. So if you're looking for a kind of silly action, kind of a heist film, then I think this is like the early 90s film for you. However, I will say you kind of have to turn off your brain when it comes to figuring out what the terrorist plan was, because the movie begins and they are holding a judge hostage, and then they kill the judge, but apparently that judge's son goes to this boarding school, and the FBI comes in and they relocate him just as safety precautions so that he doesn't get kidnapped by the terrorists if they do decide to show up. Spoiler, they do show up and the kid's not there, so they're like, shoot, well, let's just capture all of these 92 students and hold them hostage so I can get my daddy out of prison. And it's hilarious because when they show up, they're looking for the kid, they find out that he's gone. It's like, how could this happen? How do we not know? And his right-hand man is like, well, we were in transit. They couldn't reach us. If only they had cell phones back then, they would have known that the kid's not there, and they didn't need to do this whole thing to begin with. But they do show up, and they kill a couple of teachers, and they're kind of thinking on the fly here, so they're like, let's just hold everyone hostage. And I'm not understanding, like, how they're controlling all of the kids. Like, they're allowing them to go about their daily routines? They're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the commons area, and there are chefs who are there just all day cooking along. Yes, the school's taken hostage, but I gotta make the sloppy joe. And then Marcus from Indiana Jones, he's one of the teachers, or like the superintendent, I don't know what his title was, but he's there and he's trying to teach while soldiers are just walking by with guns. I just don't understand their plan of letting them just kind of wander in the courtyard. Yes, they were threatening, like, if someone didn't show up in time when they made a roll count, that they would shoot a couple of students, but I don't understand, like, the control that would have. I don't know. But anyway, Billy is here and he knows all the ins and outs and secret passageways, and he's willing to climb into air ducts, to rewire some bombs, and, to upset authority. And I really like the relationship that Billy has with Dean Edward Parker. This Dean, actually, this principal, this person in authority, is one of the best principals I've ever seen in film. He's strict, he's about discipline, but it's from a point of understanding, like, yeah, if I was in your shoes, kid, and I had your upbringing, yeah, I would be rebellious. I know where you're coming from. That being said, you're on pots and pans for the rest of the semester.
Cleaning up that sloppy joe.
It's an action film that is definitely in the transition from the typical standard muscle-up action star to the everyman action star, but you definitely have a lot of those 80s action star type tendencies in here. If you watch any action film from the 80s, you get someone from the outside talking about the lead action star, talking about how, yep, they're the only man who could do the thing, and no one can take them down. They're your only chance of accomplishing your mission. And that's what they were doing again here, but it's for little Billy Temper, who's just a kid in this high school. It's like, no. Well, this kid never followed the rules in school. He's your best bet, FBI agents. And let's all hatch a plan sitting around our dorm in all of our tighty-whities. Let's go. I did have a lot of fun with this movie, though. I'm kind of dogged on it because just a lot of the things are kind of stupid in nowadays terms, like with the technology that we have. If cell phones were around back then, this whole thing just wouldn't have happened. The plan that the terrorists have, it's a little confusing, and I'm wondering, like, where were you going with your original plan, and where are you going with the improv one that you're doing now? I mean, you're trying, but it's also playing on a situation that is really just kind of commonplace now with how many school shootings that happen in this country on a day-to-day basis. Here's an action film from the early 90s where that was taboo, when really it's just an everyday common occurrence here in America. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. It's a terrible thing. It's interesting how far we've come in, like, 20 years. I'm gonna give Toy Soldiers 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
Above average.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next, and tomorrow is Thursday, and that means it's Autumn Blood's PayPal donation recommendation day because she sent me so many, and the next recommendation that I'm going to be looking from her is a movie called The Rover, starring Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. I figured this would be like the perfect time to watch this, seeing how The Batman came out last week, and Robert Pattinson, of course, is The Batman, and he was fantastic. Never heard of this film though, never seen it, have no idea what it is. They look pretty dirty on the poster, so we'll check it out next time. So guys, if you've seen Toy Soldiers, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before, and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of The Rover. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.